work-life balance, or sometimes it's heavier topics like about a death in the family. But it's basically a structured sharing process. You'll have everyone in the circle, talk about their perspective on whatever the topic of that month is. How is it relevant? What do they want to get off their chest? And they have a lot of space to talk without being interrupted. And then we encourage people to not, offer solutions, because you're not there to workshop or critique or judge somebody else's experience, but it's just from the benefits of kind of saying these things out loud and hearing each other talk about their own experience.
All right. And I mean, that's a great way to share something personal. Uh, Probably aren't any Hail Marys involved.
No,
um,
yeah.
right. I'm also really, I mean, sort of the parallel, but not parallel to what a typical religious service might be. That is reading of an important text or something inspirational, which, I mean, take your pick. History's got so many wonderful poets and writers that I think are great when they address the human condition, because that's good for all time, and I think that's really part of what's very, very important, is that um, it's universal. So now maybe we should have talked about this first, but um, I know a little bit about the original formation of Sunday Assembly, and maybe I'll just begin and you can jump in when I start getting it wrong. Uh, in England, like I said, I don't know the number of years ago. I'm guessing it was '05. Dang it! There's I got the internet here and I didn't even prepare that, but
That sounds close enough.
yeah, it's hard enough to verify. But now I'm going to forget his name. Sanderson Jones
Hmm.
and his partner, forgive me, I forget her name. But I don't know what got them to do it in the first place. But Sanderson's a younger guy than I am. So it kind of makes it more impressive, because it wasn't just a couple dozen people in London. Within, I mean, a year and a couple years, he really went practically all over the planet. In fact, the my first introduction, which I kind of mentioned, a friend of mine said, "Hey, Andy, I saw this thing. Seemed like it might be up your alley. Why don't you check it out?" And it was the movie, the guy that did Super Size Me. Geez, I forget his name too. But he sort of, as he experiments with himself, he decided to attend a Sunday assembly, and I found that very impressive. What do you think would be important for someone to take away from this brief podcast, if you've never heard of Sunday Assembly before and maybe it's starting to sound interesting to you? Do you have any advice, or would you give any guidance to someone who may develop an interest in Sunday Assembly?
Yeah, well, look us up online. If you're in Pittsburgh, we are, always welcoming new members, whatever your path to Sunday Assembly is. Um, and there are, as you said, there are chapters all over the world. There are, I think we're kind of after the first wave of growth of Sunday Assembly, where you had a lot of new chapters opening up, which really speaks to how much demand there was for something like this, for people who wanted a still secular experience, but to meet, what is often described as those spiritual needs in life. I usually wouldn't use that word. Um, and then a lot of those chapters around the world kind of, some of them didn't, make it. They had trouble raising money, retaining volunteers, or just kind of keeping things going, which speaks, to the difficulty of starting up a nonprofit organization and starting something new. But Pittsburgh is one of those ones that stuck around, and there are still chapters that are really strong all around the world. So I encourage somebody to, look it up and try to get involved.
That's great. And from what I've seen, Sunday Assembly I guess largely because it's more of a younger movement, Sunday Assembly seems to be very tech savvy, with pretty prominent presences on uh, most of the big social media. And I guess for anyone interested, it's not too terribly hard to uh, find either a local group or even just um, even online. Some chapters have online assemblies, and it's it's pretty amazing. I think in terms of that, Henry, just to share for myself personally, I really really like the part of the motto that is "Wonder More." I I personally think is a philosophy that it's important to be cool with the unknown. With people worried about what happens after you die is a pretty uh, straightforward example. And I love how when a student asks Confucius, "What happens when you die?" Confucius replied, "There's plenty to do right here, right now." you know so in terms of not knowing, it's okay to just wonder. You don't need this constantly hanging over your head thing of, I don't know, am I going up or am I going down? It's I personally think that's some form of suffering that exists in the minds of people, that sort of thing. But I'd say wonder more is, I think, almost the one that sort of is transcendental to the Sunday Assembly experience. But there, Confucius, I worked in another philosopher. There you go, on the philosophy show.
You hinted at this a little bit, but we're not an anti-religion or religious organization. We're not about, it's not the atheist club. Although a lot of people in Sunday Assembly may also have membership in, something that's like an atheist club. But we're at the point of, yeah, maybe you're an atheist, maybe you're agnostic, maybe went to Unitarian Universalist Church for a while and like that didn't work on it. You want to try something new. Um, or maybe you do have some kind of theistic ideas, but what else then? All right, how do I live a better life? How do I help other people? How do I appreciate this life that I have? Or about, everything else after that question of, yeah, I'm an atheist, but what else?
Right. And to go along with the help often part of the motto, there's always been different charity work and outreach, and it seems like really having a positive impact on the local community. And you don't need deities or commandments or prayer beads or anything. It's just people can get together, be nice to each other, and help people around each other. Again, it's so simple. It's too simple to be wrong, and I think that's fantastic to really help often. And I think that's one of the ways that you kind of help yourself live better is by being useful to your fellow human being. I have a child, and that's something I tell her from time to time. Before my child is an adult, it's very important to be useful to your fellow human being, provided that you're able to. So, any domain names or Facebook call outs or email addresses that you would care to furnish to the dear listeners of the Steel Plaza podcast?
Well, you can find us online at sapgh.org. We're also on Facebook as Sunday Assembly Pittsburgh. And, a Google of Sunday Assembly Pittsburgh will get you to where you're trying to go.
sapgh.org. That's
and when
great.
we meet in person, we are at Community Forge in Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania.
That's great. Well, Henry, thank you very, very much for your time. I have no doubt that there's many listeners who were either unfamiliar or perhaps mistaken about what Sunday Assembly is. And I mean, it's pretty hard to find any fault with any activity or belief of the group, and I think it's a fantastic idea, and I wish you all the luck in the world. And lastly, thank you to the dear listeners of the Steel Plaza podcast for tuning in to Andy's Philosophy Corner. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great week, everybody.
Congratulations! You have just unlocked the bonus portion of this Andy's Philosophy Corner podcast. The Steel Plaza podcast has recognized your interest, and most people will not hear the following segment. Now, philosophy translates as the love of knowledge. In so much as philosophy is concerned with the well-being of humans, it's very useful to look at another ancient thinker, Hippocrates. It's fair to say that Hippocrates specialized in the love of knowledge regarding health and doctors and medicine. This concerns the subject of ethics. Now, I have to put out a warning here. There's a couple big words coming next. Deontological and teleological. Deontological essentially means that you are guided by the intentions of your ethics regarding the ethics of your actions, versus teleological focuses on the outcomes of your actions. So there is a moral hazard for each way of approaching ethics. So regarding health and physicians, we look at Hippocrates. Now, Hippocrates, by all records, was born in 460 BC and died in 370 BC. So by my math, that's 90 years. So for over 2,000 years ago, that was an unusually long lifespan. So, physician, heal thyself, he knew something, and there's a reason that his writings have remained popular and important over the millennia. Hippocrates was a Greek physician of the age of Pericles in classical Greece, who is generally considered one of the most influential figures in the history of medicine. And after 2,390 years, he is still dead. The Hippocratic Oath is often abbreviated or summarized to say, "First, do no harm." Here is a good English translation of the actual Hippocratic Oath, which is taken by most physicians. And I quote, "I swear by Apollo physician, by Asclepius, by Hygeia, by Panacea, and by all the gods and goddesses, making them my witnesses, that I will carry out, according to my ability and judgment, this oath and this indenture. To hold my teacher in this art equal to my own parents, to make him partner in my livelihood, when he is in need of money, to share mine with him, to consider his family as my own brothers, and to teach them this art, if they want to learn it, without fee or indenture, to impart precept, oral instruction, and all other instruction to my own sons, the sons of my teacher, and to indentured pupils who have taken the physician's oath, but to nobody else. I will use those dietary regimens which will benefit my patients according to my greatest ability and judgment, and I will do no harm or injustice to them. Neither will I administer a poison to anybody when asked to do so, nor will I suggest such a course. Similarly, I will not give to a woman a pessary to cause abortion, but I will keep pure and holy both my life and my art. I will not use the knife, not even, verily,